Sometimes you don't always get it right. What to do about it today on the Daily Ish Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Boom, boom, chicka, boom, ba, boom, chuck. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Ish Show, a show not just for rental housing providers, but anybody looking to get a little bit more time freedom on your calendar, especially for those of you who are in business for yourself. And today, this is what we're going to be talking about. It's about sometimes you just don't always get it right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Dolfini, your host of the Daily Ish Show and your interim coach just for the next few minutes. So what are we talking about here? About sometimes you don't always get it right. This was really stemmed from an article that I read the other day that honestly was just absolutely fantastic. And I'm not going to do it justice, so I'm not going to try to even paraphrase it. But let's see if I can find this article real fast. But what had happened was, well, first let me give a little bit backstory, right? So this is really about talking. We're really on the idea of sometimes when you're in business, you just don't always get it right. You know what? Especially in the real estate industry and especially in the rental business, it just doesn't happen. I mean, sometimes things go smoothly and sometimes they go absolutely not smoothly, right? So, and that's really the context of what I'm talking about. But this was an article that I read from Inc. magazine, and it was a customer that had purchased a $350 Lego set that was missing some pieces. And now you can imagine, first of all, if you're going to spend $350 on a Lego set, you are really into Legos and you are really into Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I like Legos. I don't know that I like Legos and Star Wars that much. I like, I like chicken. I like salad. I don't always like chicken salad. It doesn't always jive, right? So I like Legos. I like Star Wars. I don't know that I would spend $350 on a Lego set. That said, this is why this is a really cool story, even more so. So they went to the buyer, this guy John, went to Target, bought this 3,000 piece Lego set, which cost $350. And the book of instructions alone is 400 pages. So if you're buying this set, that tells you right there that you're a diehard both into Legos and into Star Wars. All right. So as they're putting this thing together, they realize that the thing is about halfway done and they're missing an entire bag of components, which is no small problem because you can't really substitute pieces in. These are pieces that are obviously made for this thing. So what do? Do you take the whole thing apart, bring it back to Target and try to swap this thing out? Even if you could do that, I mean, this, from what I understand, the thing was kind of hard to find. So the guy did what he thought was right, and he messaged Lego directly. I think it's Hasbro that owns it. Anyway, so said, hey, we're missing this particular bag. Would you please, let us know? And so the response from the Lego customer service is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to read this, their direct response. Dear John, thanks for getting in touch with us and providing that information. I'm so sorry that you're missing bag 14 from your Lego set. This must be the work of Lord Vader. Fear not, I've hired Han to get that bag right out to you. Have a bricktastic day, and may the Force be with you. Now, there's a couple things that I just think are absolutely fantastic about that response. First of all, they 100% owned it. They didn't say take it back to them, the store that you bought it in, whatever. They 100% owned it. Didn't say that you owe us for this. Didn't say anything. Nothing like that. That was the entire message. And it was really cool because it goes back to one of the success principles that I read about in which I've heard this many other times, but the success principles from I want to say Brian Tracy, and it's Jack Canfield's book, the success principles. The first principle, the first one, is take 100% ownership. So here's the interesting thing, and this is something that I always go back to this example with Johnson & Johnson when they had the cyanide pill scare back in the 80s. And they recalled it was a lot of Tylenol. I mean, it was in the tens of millions of dollars, probably hundreds of millions of dollars of Tylenol for 3 pills that had been found laced with cyanide. 3 pills. That's it. Now, Tylenol, Johnson & Johnson took a massive hit to profitability for doing that. They said, look, we'll swap out any Tylenol related product. We'll just swap it out, no questions asked. Cost them billions. I mean, it cost them a lot. I don't want to say billions. It cost them a ton. Let's just say it that way. But the fact that they owned it, because even though it wasn't their fault, it was their problem to deal with. And that was what was interesting. What was more interesting is the fact that Johnson & Johnson's market share skyrocketed after that. What could have turned out to be an absolute debacle turned into something that, because of the way they handled it, turned into something absolutely amazing for them. And they did everything right. They owned it, even though it wasn't their problem. And I just love the fact that they took 100% ownership. So the hallmark of a good company, of course, is doing what you say you're going to do, right? Everybody just wants that. They don't want you to go above and beyond if you can't even do the basics. But the other thing that I really find is, for example, I had a local car shop here locally that I take my car to, and I'll say it, they're Beck's Auto, and they did something to the brakes. We had a regular brake job, and they didn't. For some reason the brake fluid kept going out of it. And it was a simple brake job. We're thinking, why is this happening? Well, we ended up taking it back to them and say, hey, can you look at this? We don't know if it's something you guys did, but we didn't have this problem before just regular putting the brakes on. And they did something really, really amazing. They did something that they didn't have to do. And they owned it. They said, well, we can't say it's our fault, but we can't say it's not our fault. So we're gonna own it, right? I didn't ask them to do that. I just said, check it out. I mean, this has been the problem. And they insisted on owning the problem. Now, I thought, wow, that's really, really cool. Like, I felt kind of bad. I was like, look, I'm not expecting you to own it. But the fact that they owned it. Now, I bring my business there. They've gotten plenty from me, over the years. But my point is the fact that they owned it. And I love the fact that they did that. Right? Other companies around town have done stuff like that, but that's the one that comes to mind recently. So it was really cool, and I live in Lafayette, Indiana, but for those of you, I'm sure you've got companies that are out there that just own stuff that even though it wasn't their fault, they just owned it. They just went and said, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and make it right, and that's just what we're going to do. So I really thought, like, wow, that's really cool, and it really speaks to the integrity of the individuals there. And it really speaks to the company culture that the owners of the company have built. So not just the employees that are doing the right thing, but also the owners have instilled a company culture where that is the way that they handle problems. And that's what I love seeing that, from the small business perspective. And I love seeing that at large businesses. I just love to see the fact that people are actually just owning problems that aren't necessarily their issue. I mean, who's to say that the bag number 13 didn't wind up under the couch? Right? I mean, that's happened. That certainly happened to us before when we were building these massive, Lego toys. But the fact of the matter that they owned it, even though it necessarily wasn't their problem or wasn't their fault, it was their problem to solve. And that's what was really cool. So sometimes you don't always get it right, but it's important, and how you handle the problem and how you own it is what really, really matters. So that's all I have for today, folks. I am getting ready to head out for the weekend. I'm going to get my weekend started. I've got a couple of errands to run beforehand, and then I'm going to go home and get this sucker started because I am needing some time off. It has been a busy, busy couple of weeks, but that's the nature of it this time of year in the rental business. So that's all I have. But for you guys out there, please be sure to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. But most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome weekend. I'll see you guys next time.